The person sitting in the front passenger seat takes the hardest hit in a passenger side T-bone collision. Let's talk about it. So what we're talking about is a hard impact, traumatic impact. So what you have is with this direct force, blunt trauma impact, you have a high fracture risk, which means if you're the passenger sitting here, well, let's think about it. You've got your leg bones right here, right? You've got your arm right here. All these things can be fractured. This can be fractured. Collarbone can wind up fractured. And not only that, and we'll get into that in just a second, you've got a B-pillar right here. In most cars, there's a B-pillar. So through the lateral force, you could actually sustain a brain injury. So let's dive a little bit deeper into the head trauma and the brain injury from this direct force impact. So when you suffer head injuries as a result of these impacts, what happens is that typically your head will strike either this pillar right here, which is the A pillar, the B pillar right here, which is the post that the doors hang on, okay? Or it could hit the side glass. All of these can lead to brain injuries, in severe cases, even a skull fracture. And why that's dangerous is your brain sits in a cup just like this. Your brain actually goes down to just below your nose, and there's a cup, and then it's like the cup has an overflow area, but it's not really an overflow area because your cranium encloses the brain. And so what can happen is your brain shakes back and forth in a violent fashion and causes what is known as brain shear, which means that the microcapillaries shear, break, burst, and causes brain bleeding. This is a very, very serious injury and can cause lifelong lasting neurological deficits and can drastically affect the way that you can live your life. Let's talk about another type of very serious injury, and that's where the force of the impact actually protrudes into the passenger compartment. Now, even though there's crumple zones in modern cars, there's a lot of weight-saving, lightweight material that's used that's to help gas mileage, but it doesn't help you when there's a wreck. And so the interior processes of the door can actually break loose and come into and do a direct protrusion into you, into your body, into your bones. And this can cause crushing injuries. This to your hips, to your pelvis, because it's right here. Think about that. Also to your femur right here. Also lower down on your leg to your knee or into your tibia or your fibula. And these are very serious because that affects our mobility. And once we become immobile, the quality of life drastically reduces. Let's not forget the spinal cord, because the spinal cord is subject to all of these forces too. And that's going to cause a rapid acceleration and then a deceleration back and forth, particularly in the cervical area. What does this cause? Well, this causes a ripping and tearing. With enough force, it can cause a disc impingement or herniation, meaning that you have a disc that has an injury that causes a bulge or a herniation. And if you see this right here, it presses on the nerve root, and that causes immense pain and can even cause paralysis. So that's very, very serious. In addition, you also have ligament laxity. Now, ligament laxity is sometimes by the doctors called hypermobility. In layman's terms, that's what we call whiplash. Adjusters love to scoff at this, but it is a very real injury. It is a lifetime injury because once your ligaments are stretched beyond their normal shape, they never, ever, ever go back to where they were. They never go back. So this is a permanent injury that you will have for the rest of your life. And what happens is our muscles try to take over the job of the ligaments, not only in the neck, but in the knee and the ankle, anywhere else. And that's why you have constant nagging pain in those areas. It's because the ligaments can't do what God intended them to do, and the muscles try to take over and do that job. So let's talk about our internal organs and how the body is made. Our rib cage was designed to protect us from the blows and protect our internal organs, but our rib cages only come down to here. There's a lot of internal organs that go from here down to here. In this type of impact, right about right here is where that seatbelt buckle is. And with this great acceleration and deceleration force, there's going to be a lot of impact all the way across here, your intestines. And if you're a woman, that's where your reproductive organs are. And so you have to be very, very aware that you could suffer internal injuries as a result of these side impacts, particularly if you notice any kind of bruising across your abdomen, and if you see any bruising over here on your hip, because that means that what has happened is your body has gone this way and then come back this way. And this has snatched up to hold you and keep you from going through the windshield, but that doesn't mean it doesn't cause internal damage to you. So be very, very aware of that. This can really cause problems, especially for the women. If you have been a passenger in a side impact collision, a full trauma assessment is critical, even if the symptoms are delayed. If this has happened to you or somebody that you love, tell them to pick up the phone and call 888-WE-FIGHT. If you're hurt and we're working, we are here 24/7, 365. We would welcome your call, and we will fight to get you every bit of medical treatment that you deserve and every dollar that justice demands that you receive. 888-WE-FIGHT.